Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking all about why younger women like older men. So more specifically here, I think just women in general tend to gravitate towards men who are older than them, even if it's only a couple of years. I think the majority of women are into guys that are a little bit older than them. Of course, this is not always the case. My mom is with my dad, and he's like a couple of years younger than her. So by no means am I saying this is a 100% all the time thing. But I think there are reasons, and these are going to be the biggest ones, of why women are attracted to men that are older than them, even if it's only by a couple of years. I also don't want this to be taken as a jab towards you younger guys, because I know that age is just a number. And just because a guy is a certain age does not mean that he's going to have any of these things. But I think these are often the traits that women are attracted to, and especially in the men that are older than them. They're more prevalent in the men that are maybe a little bit older than they are. So keep that in mind. You can be a young guy and have all of these things too. If you walk away from this video, you're 25 and you're like, hey, I have all that stuff, you're on the right path. So keep that in mind. Okay, so number one on my list is they know what they want. So a guy that has been through more, he's gone through a couple of jobs, he is a little bit older, he's more established in life, is probably going to know what he wants a lot more than someone younger who's just kind of getting into the swing of things and figuring things out. By no means is that an end-all, be-all. Just because you're young and figuring things out does not mean that girls are not going to like you. A guy that knows what he wants is attractive no matter what stage of life you're in. I think it's just an attractive quality when a guy knows what he wants and he goes for it. I think often that's why women date older men, because they know what they want out of life. They've already done things that they maybe don't want to do, and they've maybe figured out a little bit better what it is they want to do with their life and what it is they want in a partner. I think a lot of younger men gravitate towards women for their looks and maybe not as much, their substance or what they can bring to the table, and often feel like something's falling short there because they weren't going after the right things. So when you kind of get a little bit older, you realize what matters and what doesn't. I think sometimes when we're getting out of college or school in general and we're starting to enter the workforce and figure out what we're going to do with our lives, things can feel very confusing. And dating is really hard in that part of your life because you don't even know what you're doing, let alone when you add someone else to the mix. So I think that's often why relationships that start when you're young often fail, because you change so much and you grow so much that it's kind of impossible to remain with that person because you're just a totally different person sometimes. I know that can work out for some people and that's great, but for a lot of people it's not something that's realistic because you change and evolve so much. If I was dating the person now that I was dating when I was 18, I would hate my life and I would probably be miserable. So it's different for everyone, but I know, just speaking for myself, I'm at a very different place now at 25, mentally, physically, emotionally, than I was when I was younger. So I understand why women gravitate towards men who are a little bit older, who have their stuff figured out, because the growing pains are a lot for a relationship. And I understand why some people just want to avoid that altogether. So it's awesome if they're with you from the start, they're building from the ground up with you. That's incredible, but unfortunately there's a lot of mistakes, heartache, just a ton of baggage that comes with that as well. So understand why women go for men that are a little bit older. It's often to avoid that growing pain period. Number two, they are mature and responsible. So again, two traits that are incredibly attractive in a partner regardless of how old they are. But I think, like I said before, a guy who's been through more is going to be more responsible. He's going to know how to do things on his own, and he's not going to rely on you to do every single thing for him. Now, keep in mind, like I mentioned in the beginning, age is just a number. And just because you're a certain age does not mean you're more mature, and it does not mean that you're more responsible. I've met men who are in their 60s who are the most immature people I've ever met in my life, and that's totally fine, but maybe not the person that I would go for. So, just because someone is a certain age, like I said, does not mean that they have a level of maturity that necessarily attracts women. I think it's a really good thing when you get into a relationship with someone who has been on their own for a little bit. Maybe they've lived by themselves, they take care of all their own bills, they're just pretty self-sufficient, so that when you combine forces, you aren't left taking care of every single thing. Calling and making all his doctor's appointments, doing all the things that maybe his mom did for him that he's never done for himself, and now that's being translated onto you to do. I think of things pretty traditionally. I would love to stay at home and cook and clean and be a wife and a mom. That's my ultimate goal one day. I want that for myself more than anything, but I also understand how it can get a little bit frustrating if you're doing every single thing for someone and playing a mom role rather than a partner role. So something to keep in mind. I think men who are a little bit older, like I said, who have been on their own, even if you're like 30 and you've lived on your own for a couple of years, you've dated around, you've figured out what you want, like I mentioned in point one, and you're just more responsible and mature because of those things, is attractive. So maturity and responsibility come with experience as well. So a guy who has been through a little bit more, who, like I said, has provided for himself, he's self-sufficient, he's not relying on his parents, is attractive to women. I think when you're younger, when you're in your teenage years, early 20s, maybe if you're in college, you kind of rely on your parents a little bit more, or I know some people do. I personally had to take out a loan for college and worked all the way through college to pay my bills. But I understand that sometimes you rely a little bit more on your parents when you're younger because you're doing other things. You're going through school and all of that, and it's kind of more of a transitional period. But once you get out of that period, it's very attractive when a guy can provide all of that for himself and isn't constantly relying on other people. Number three, we have a sense of security. So I would say that most women, even the ones that work, even the ones that are in the workforce, even the ones who are making good money, still want to be with a man who is making good money as well. The reason for this is because we want to feel safe and secure. It's a known thing that the main cause for divorce is finances. So I totally understand when you're going into a situation being like, okay, if I know the main cause of divorce is finances, I want to avoid anything that's going to make me get divorced because of finances. So I'm going to go after a guy who makes a good living just like I do, and we can have a nice household income and be able to live the life we want and support ourselves and our future family. The level of security that I'm talking about is obviously going to vary from woman to woman because everyone kind of has their own idea of what success is, what a comfortable living wage is, and everyone wants to live different lifestyles. So while one person might want to go on vacations all year and live a very luxurious lifestyle, another person might be totally happy middle class, doing the normal thing and not worrying about being a millionaire. So it's really going to depend on the woman, but I think it's important to find someone whose idea of that kind of aligns with yours a little bit. So you've probably noticed the older men who make a good living, who are well established, are often the ones who attract younger women because they want that lifestyle and they know they can get it by going after that older guy. By no means am I saying that I agree with this. I think this is just the reality. Sugar daddies are a huge thing now. I see it all the time on TikTok. I don't necessarily think it's the best thing or the healthiest thing, and I would advise all of you guys not to do that. But ultimately, I can't make your decisions for you, and I'm not going to judge you for what you choose to do with your money. Just know if you're someone that's a little bit older, you have money, the reason why women are probably going to go after you is because of your money. And that's not to say that you can't develop a real connection with them and have a great relationship, but initially I think women are attracted to a certain lifestyle that they want to live, and they know they can get that if they marry up. I think money is a big one. It's probably the biggest one when it comes to girls going for older guys, but I really do think the maturity aspect is a big one too, because guys, it is a proven fact that the male brain is not fully developed until a guy is 25 years old. So when I look back to my past relationships, that makes a whole lot of sense. I think it's very true. Now, I'm not saying a 22-year-old can't be great and a great person to date, but I understand why, as a woman, you would go for someone a couple of years older than you. I personally have always dated guys a couple of years older than me. I actually started thinking about this topic a little bit more, and I asked the girls that I was chatting with, do you go for older guys, or why do you think younger girls go for older guys? They all pretty much gave the same answer, and they were all more interested in older guys. And like I said, I'm not saying that's 100% the case. My dad is younger than my mom by like 3 or 4 years, so totally is not like a deal breaker, make it or break it kind of thing. But I think often women are attracted to older guys the same way that guys are often attracted to younger women. I think it makes sense. Guys are very visual. They're attracted to beauty, and often younger women are more physically attractive than older women. Is that the case all the time? No. Look at, she's like 50 and she's beautiful, prettier than me, whatever. Age is just a number, and I totally get that. But when you look at the majority, I think it's often true. So basically, just to round everything out, women are attracted to someone who can bring value to her life, the same way that a man should be attracted to a woman based on the value that she can bring to his life. So as much as you want to say relationships are not transactional, there's always some sort of a give and take, regardless of the situation that you're in. So you're going to want to be with someone that's adding value to your life. Why would you want to be with someone who adds no value, who doesn't make you better, who doesn't support you, who doesn't provide whatever value you're looking for in a relationship? It doesn't make any sense. So guys, that is all I have for today. If you liked this video or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I love connecting with all of you guys on there as well. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.